Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Listing, where we discuss the business of real estate outside of the listing environment. I'm your host, Jeremy Madore.
And I'm Danielle Downs.
And today we have another powerhouse of a realtor that is sitting with us, and she has shot the moon. She has really leveled up her business this year, and I'm really anxious to get into all of those details on camera for our audience, and kind of poke into her mindset and see like where she's at. Sure. And it was a wonderful conversation.
Yep.
And it was she spoke from her heart really well.
Yep. And I imagine she would. Like, I was excited to hear what she has to say.
So November happened.
Did it?
I mean, I don't know where it went, and B, all of the awesomeness that was October disappeared within like a week and a half.
Really?
Into November.
Yep, absolutely. I feel like it was
parachutes came out.
Busy. And I mean, typical, obviously, before Thanksgiving. And
this is completely on brand with what we've seen in the past.
Yep.
It's just that the wave of business that happened in October was just mind blowing.
Yep.
And I've shared on Facebook, and in fact, we shared, I think, last time as well, the graph that pointed to that.
Sure.
But it's right back to regularly scheduled programming, as it were, as far as volume is concerned. But I think we deserve the break.
Yeah, it's been nice to kind of regroup my own mental focus a little bit with not like a slew of calls and emails all day long. I can kind of. But even today was actually really busy for me for a Wednesday, I would say. A Wednesday in November. Put a decent amount on the books for next week already.
Yep.
So that's good.
Yeah, there's still a good amount of activity happening.
Yeah.
And so that's going to carry us right through the holiday time. And obviously Thanksgiving was just last week. And it's nice to just ratchet down a little bit and spend time with, our valued people.
Absolutely.
What are your holiday plans? Your daughter coming home from college?
Yep. I think she comes home the Friday before. I think she's off for a while, like three weeks or so. They do Christmas Eve. They'll be with their dad for Christmas Eve, but I invited myself over to their house on Christmas Eve, which it was actually very happily received. So me and Tom are going to go over there, and we're all going to spend Christmas Eve together because I want to do that while Mabel's still little and has that Christmas Eve magic.
Yeah.
And so since it's being on a Sunday, everybody's home anyways. So we'll go up there for a couple hours and just have some fun. And
beautiful.
Yep. And then the kids will come home Christmas Day and we'll just chill.
That's really good.
Yeah, it'll be good. Really good. I'm excited for it in general.
We're just going to hunker down at the Madore household this year. We're not going to go anywhere until probably New Year's Eve, where we have our extended family Christmas and stuff at my brother's place. But yeah, it's just, it's busy enough in our household as it is. We don't need to add travel to the mix.
Nope.
Like we did for Thanksgiving. But yeah, that's looking forward to it. And, I already told the kids that Christmas is going to look a lot different this year as far as what it is that we celebrate, you know, and I think that this year's biggest takeaway for me personally has been the value of time and how to spend it more wisely and who to spend it on. Yep. And so those have all kind of culminated to really the biggest celebration of the year as far as our house is concerned, and I think yours too, with Christmas, and kind of like the perfect time of year really to reflect on how things went and how you want things to be. And then of course the very quickly followed New Year's Day with all those resolutions that we so love to take on but don't fulfill.
I don't like to take on New Year's resolutions. I like to, what we basically do at home is we write things down on paper, like things that we hope for the year, not resolutions necessarily, but just like our hopes and our aspirations for the year. And then we burn it. We set it into the sky.
But you read them first.
We don't. I mean, we don't read them to each other. It's like private.
Really?
So I have no idea what Mabel writes every year, but it's like, she enjoys it. So it's just something funny. And then we just all go outside in our winter clothes and at nighttime and just watch the little paper flicker away.
Danielle, I really, really like that.
It's fun. It's fun.
Why did I not know that?
I don't know. Yep.
I'm really happy to have known that.
Yeah, it's something cute. Again, I have no idea what the kids write down, and they don't know what I write down, and it's just not shared amongst anybody, and we just do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have fun with it.
Kudos.
Thank you.
That is fantastic. I might have to adopt.
It's a fun exercise, and you're not really like, I'm going to do this. It's more like, I hope to spend more time with so-and-so, or I hope to do this a little bit more, and not so much like, I want to lose 20 pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't think that that's ever been like my programming for goals. It's more like been like, what kind of inside changes can I make this year from a mentality standpoint?
Yep.
And how I approach other people, and how I love myself, you know, and that's been like a really big, you know, thing for me for the past few years. The realization of all that. And so I think that I like your idea.
Yeah. Write it down, burn it up.
I like that.
Yep. Manifest.
Yeah. Yeah. I have issues with some of that, but
it's fun.
But
just
honestly, like literally, like that's gold.
Yeah.
It's gold.
Yep. Good exercise for the little ones too. Just fun. You know?
Right.
There you
well,
go.
On that note, let's get over to the episode.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Beyond the Listing. I'm your host, Jeremy Madore, and I am joined today by
Olivia Paras with Blair Realty Partners.
It's really wonderful to have you today. So thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks. A little nervous, but
no need to be. No need to be. We've been working together a while.
Yeah, probably almost 5 years.
Since before you got married.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Since before you had your first.
Yeah, it was. So. And even, I mean, my first listing, I had called you guys because that's who you guys were recommended to me through the people who were training me. So from the very beginning. So yeah, about 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Keith's been with us almost 7 years now. So I know how far back that feels, you know. Things, the market's changed a heck of a lot over the past
it's very
5. Heck, over the past 1, it's changed a lot.
I was going to say, even 1 or 2, it's totally different than it was.
This year was
wild.
Wow. Yeah.
Wild.
Really wild.
Yeah.
Really wild. And it was, I think, ultimately a good experience this year.
Yeah.
Because as difficult as it was to navigate a lot of times, it opened doors in the process of that navigation. And it also started really kind of showing some of the challenges, I think, that not just agents, but also, you know, those who support them, like ourselves and mortgage lenders and stuff like that.
Yep.
What the real life of it is like.
Yeah.
You know, before we sat down, we started talking about selling Sunset, you know, and and it's not like that.
No,
you know?
not
and
at all.
You know, it's not big fat paychecks. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And no guarantee of return.
Yeah.
Especially on the agent's side.
Yeah.
You guys put a lot of skin in the game, as it were.
It can be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a transaction fall apart this year that literally fell apart the day before we were supposed to close.
Ouch.
And it never closed. There was no fixing it.
Yeah.
There was no moving on. There was no finding them another house. Done.
Do you want to dissect that, or is that some other time?
Without me needing tissues of tears.
Yeah.
I'm going to cry.
Right.
No, I mean.
This is the therapy room, Olivia.
Yeah, it was the deal was contingent on their house selling. Mm-hmm. So they lived in Maine, my clients, and their buyer was also contingent on their house selling, which I didn't know about.
It was a waterfall.
It was, and then so that one fell apart, and that just was a trickle effect of the rest. And it was really sad, but it happens, and we kind of just have to take that into consideration. So when I look at my numbers at the beginning of the year and what I want to do, I'm already taking into consideration kind of the few that are going to fall apart. Okay. It's going to happen.
Yep. So you're just putting a percentage in there where you're like, not all of them's going to be successful, and that's okay.
Yep.
So was that your first like real, like, oh my goodness, this all fall apart kind of transaction, or?
No, I've had other ones, but this is the first year that I started out the year knowing, okay, listen, when I go into a transaction, I'm going to close X% of them. So if I have one that falls apart, I don't need to panic because I've already taken that into consideration when looking at my numbers. So this is the first year I really did that.
You had armor on.
Yeah. So it wasn't, I think if in previous years I would have had like an panic moment.
Yep.
But this year I had already accounted for it. I already knew that I could have that happen.
Sure.
Where I could then panic was if those numbers this year increased, like if the percentage, or I guess the percentage decreased of what I was closing.
Yep.
But I know when I get in front of X amount of people, I'm going to close, a certain percentage of
There's
that.
a success ratio that you've come to understand.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, you can't forecast everything. And so there's going to be a plus or minus there, but generally you have to trust your gut.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a tough
one.
Okay. Right. So some people like trust their gut, I think, way more confidently than others. Yeah. And I don't know if it's ignorance or arrogance or just simply straight up confidence.
Both, yeah.
There's a mixture of all three items, but for me this year, for Madore Photography, this year was not a trust your gut year very well.
Really?
Well, I mean, I tried to navigate it with trust your gut kind of thing, but the market did its own thing, and it was a very respond as things progress kind of thing. And because the difference with us is that we have a finite number of hours that we can work.
Yep.
And those hours are directly capped by business hours, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we can't photograph, prior to a reasonable wake up time of 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
That's true.
And we can't photograph anything later than a reasonable dinner time of around 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so we're hard capped with that. And because of our policies here at Madore Photography, we don't generally work weekends. Yep. And the reason why we don't is because we have families,
you need a break.
And realtors, I think, are on the flip side of that coin, where they can literally work whenever they decide to work, right? Because there's a lot that you can do for your own upkeep for your business outside of the standard workday.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and that's obviously it's a miscalculation on a lot of people's part of like, oh, you get to set your own hours. Well, you do. You just choose which 80 to work. And business ownership is a lot the same. And so it's
for sure.
It was a difficult navigation this year.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear that you have a guideline to go by anyway.
Yeah. Yep. That was one of the things that was really important to me to establish at the beginning of the year, because I do go into every year very apprehensive. Yeah. Because I mean, we're business owners. I'm commission based. If I don't sell a house, I'm not making any money. Yep. And if no one is choosing me, then I essentially don't have a job.
Yep.
So it was important to me to figure out those numbers, and I did it by how many appointments I need to take per month.
Okay.
I knew that if I went on so many appointments per month, I was going to close so many of those appointments, and I was going to end up making X amount of dollars, basically. So that's kind of the way I did it. That's a
good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So your strategies obviously are specific to you.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's a bit of a buffet of strategies, right? Because real estate strategies are not really a one size fits all, or am I incorrect in saying that?
I think there's, depending on who you're talking to, a lot of people do encourage you to do it by appointments. So I had sat down with a coach, and he was the one who laid it out for me.
Okay.
So I ended up firing him, but that's a totally different story.
Are you working with a coach now?
No. Working with a coach made me realize, and probably a lot of people won't agree with this, but that I don't necessarily need a coach.
Okay.
And maybe it was just I wasn't aligned with the right individual for me, but that was the only value he brought to my business.
I think it depends on where you are in your business as far as your mindset is concerned.
Yep.
I think that coaching is a necessity if you have a particular challenge that you can't see around.
Yeah.
But if you feel that you're innovative enough where you're not encountering the same challenges over and over again, and you have systems and you're able to implement and execute those systems quickly, then I don't think a coach is necessary.
Yeah,
depending on what your scalability model is.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you want to just be Olivia Paras forever, meaning that it's just a one person shop, and that's your goal, and which is a perfectly fine goal to have, then no, you don't need a scalability model, right? Whereas if you want to grow a team and you're not used to growing teams, then maybe a coach might be necessary at that point to overcome some of the troubles that you start encountering. Because I will say, going from a solopreneur to an actual business owner,
totally different.
Very, very different. Yeah. Very different.
And I think you're right. And I think if I was in a different place in my life where I was like, listen, I want to like make this amount of dollars, but I'm not. My main concerns are, one, am I going to be a good mom? Like, that's literally the most important thing. Real estate is, it's obviously important to me, but my kids come first. So anything that follows with my business, how it grows, is kind of just an added bonus.
Sure.
And I'm just not in a point in my life where I guess it sounds bad, but I'm not going to be, I don't need a coach to get me there right now. That's not to say I never will.
How does that sound bad? How does that sound bad? Don't apologize for that. Don't apologize.
But that is my main priority with my kids being as young as they are. When they start to grow, my career that's going to take a whole different form, and it'll probably be as they'll need me less, then I'll probably dig into my career a little more and really, really want to see, a huge amount of growth. And I probably will need to hire a coach for that. But I felt like where I am now, I didn't need him.
Okay.
Maybe.
No. Well, if
but he helps me figure that out. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Even that has value.
Yeah.
Right. Some people don't, unfortunately, go through that or figure it out like that.
Yeah.
And they'll just keep a coach on just for the comfort of it.
Yeah.
And that, depending on the person, maybe that's a good thing too, right?
Yeah.
But it's all about what you identify as needs for you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're owning that.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks.
Good. Excellent. We've had a journey with real estate this year, as we talked about. How else have you approached this year differently, or have you approached this year differently than previous years?
This year, I knew I really wanted to be super involved in social media. Like, that was, I wanted to like full on dive in videos. So that was kind of the approach I took this year. And really, I guess really just trying to give my clients, really trying to focus on my clients, and not making it about me, but making it about them.
Okay.
And not, not putting it out there. I just wanted to celebrate them, their story, how important it was that they chose me.
Sure.
Versus me being like, look at me, I guess.
Okay.
That's kind of the approach I took this year. And that feels more true to me.
Client-centric marketing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's fair.
And this was a good year for me. My business doubled this year, which I know a lot of people.
Here I am.
It wasn't.
Here I am talking about how challenge of a year it is. It sounds like you knocked it out of the park.
I was very, very fortunate.
Yeah.
And I think people have told me they don't like it when I say I was lucky, but I do feel like I'm very lucky.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's like those people chose me, and that to me feels, I'm just very fortunate that there are a ton of realtors out there, a ton. And the fact that they chose me, I just feel very, very lucky, fortunate.
No, you can use both words here.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is, lucky or fortunate is just the confluence of preparedness and opportunity.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like you've put yourself in a spot mentally, physically, financially, just you're plugged in to what it is that your clients are seeking. Yep. And you're delivering on those needs.
Yeah.
And that most likely, just from an armchair quarterback kind of thing, most likely played an enormous factor in your business growth this year, because it's so fickle, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of intangibles that go into real estate marketing, and it's not just simply top of mind. It's top of mind plus a slew of other things.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to hear that you're framing yourself in a way that you're trying to further your customers' successes, your clients' successes.
Yeah.
Versus your business success.
Yep. Yeah. It's not really about me. It's about them. And I think you're right. It doesn't have to be this black and white, you either worked really hard for this and you deserve it, or you're lucky. Like, it can be both. Like, I worked hard for it and I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be this like black or white, one or the other.
No.
Yeah. People get very upset with me when I say how lucky I am. They're like, it's not luck, it's you worked hard, but it's both. So yeah.
Opportunity came a knocking and Olivia answered. That's all.
Yeah.
And
we'll see. It's not to say like, the next year is going to be the same. I don't go into it with that intention.
Yep.
I go into it with, I don't know what this year is going to bring. I hope it brings more growth, but we'll see. Yeah. And I'm just going to keep putting my clients first. And that's all I can really do, and show up on social media.
What's your goals there as far as showing up on social media? Do you have a numbers goal, or is it just how you present it that's your goal?
I don't. I think when I started the year, I really wanted to grow my followers. Like, that was the biggest thing in my brain. It was like, I really want that follower count to increase. And then throughout the year, I've had this core group of people who I chat with basically on a daily basis about different things I post. And now my goal is to just strengthen that, is to just continue. I mean, I chat with people on a regular basis, just about even funny stuff that they post. And that's my goal, is to just strengthen that community versus building out, a profile that has thousands of viewers.
Right. So quality, not quantity.
Yeah.
Freudian slip there.
Yeah.
The group of people that you chat with, you said, on a daily basis, is this in person? Is it virtually?
It's both. Both. A lot of it is people who live in my community. So I see them at the store. I'll say hi.
Yep.
I'll buy stuff from them if they have small businesses, root them on, refer them in different groups. I'm in a lot of different like Facebook groups. So a lot of it's like mom groups. So I really try to help out as far as bringing value there. Like if someone has a question, or the other day there was this sweet, sweet girl. She needed a Christmas tree for her baby. She was asking if anyone had a Christmas tree. Okay. And I'm like, send me the link. I will mail you a Christmas tree. Yeah. And it's like just doing those things for your community and building those relationships with other moms or whoever it is.
Sure.
Like, that's my soul. That's one of my biggest focuses. Yep. I guess.
Yeah. So we found that over the years, the more we give of ourselves, the more we get back. Yeah. And Jen and I specifically, we take that approach at every opportunity. Yeah. As a family, and I try my best to apply that to the business as well. And sometimes it's hard, we're 13 people now, and it's difficult to do, to have that mentality all the time, just simply because there are, in fact, some bottom lines that have to get supported and stuff like that. For sure. And it sucks. Honestly, the hardest part about business is business, right?
Really is.
It's about the money. That's actually the hardest part.
It is.
Doing the product and making sure that people are happy is actually very easy in comparison to setting your prices, making sure that your overheads are met and stuff like that. Yep. But at the end of the day, what are you doing to support your community, and how is that impacting the people that you care about, really? Yeah. And it sounds to me like you're very plugged into that, and that's awesome. That's really awesome.
I'm trying to be, and it's tough, like you said. I mean, it's very hard, but at the end of the day, like I don't know. I feel more fulfilled with that mindset than I want to grow. I want to have this big platform, and
sure,
like I would rather just connect with the people that are rooting me on and support me on a daily basis.
The rest will come.
Yeah, the rest will come. For sure.
I don't know. Do you know the movie Field of Dreams?
No.
The quote from it, it's if you build it, they will come. And essentially the idea is that whatever your vision is, just construct it, put it out there. Yeah. And the modern term for that would just be manifesting or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in that, because my ideal is to have a podcast that literally just talks to people one-on-one and gets them to express their their mentality, their own philosophies of life and how it applies to their business and their scalability.
Yep.
And, you know, talking a lot about the give backs and what you believe in here, not what you've thought up here.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can get the greatest minds together and talk about how to business. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think that the greatest hearts need to get together and how to business, because the way that we've been working in a capitalistic society and just driving for the number and how to get to that number has kicked the person to the curb in the process, you know. And I don't want to get too far off tangent, but the point is that I think that we need to really take a look at how we're operating within our communities and whether or not we're being supportive of a universal growth, or if we're just in it for us type of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. Yeah. And doing it from a genuine standpoint versus doing it to chase a dollar.
Yep.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you recently went viral.
Yes. We went viral. You are a collaborator on it. Thank
you for that.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you.
So yeah, we went viral.
Yep. How did that feel on your end?
I wasn't anticipating it, so I was very surprised. I know we were talking earlier about I got a lot of hate on it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's part of social media. I've had other reels that have not had this many views before, but have gained some traction and have gained some hate.
Yeah.
So I guess once I started to see the post pick up, I did think a few people would comment some hateful things because it's just part of our world. Yeah,
you've learned to anticipate that, just like you're anticipating some of the fall off of transactions.
Yes, exactly. Right? Yeah, some things are just gonna remain constant.
They will. I think
unfortunately,
it shouldn't be the case, right?
Yeah.
But we can't eliminate that and cure it. How do you work with it though? Let's talk a little bit about how to turn a negative into a positive.
Yeah, everybody who commented something negative helped to boost that post. People
if that's not a silver lining.
Yeah. People were sharing it to their stories, which is one of the biggest things you can do for the algorithm.
Yep.
They were sharing it to their stories and then they would have text on it that was something negative.
Oh.
And I just read it and I was like, this is wonderful. They're boosting this post even more. So yeah, I was, I guess, thankful for the haters.
There you go.
But yeah, you cannot take it personally. And you just have to look at it as this is helping. Negative or positive, it's a comment. And what was the saying that you said earlier?
Yeah, I said, love me or hate me, you're still thinking of me.
Yeah, I love that.
And I picked that up from an old coworker at my job prior to becoming self-employed.
Yeah.
And she was always talking about that kind of effect. I was part of a large, small company, and there was a lot of like inter-office politics and stuff like that. And some bad blood there and stuff. And it was always that kind of trope where we were just talking about, feeling like we're being pestered by somebody in a negative way. And she's like, "Oh, love me or hate me, you're still thinking of me."
Yeah, I love that.
And that was like her go-to. And it stuck with me,
Yep. I think that's the perfect way to describe it. If you get hate on social media, like all you have to do is tell yourself that.
Yep. It's hard though, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but so artists in general, people that are operating from a more creative mindset have challenges many times with critical feedback.
Yeah.
Right. Because you want to improve your art, you want to improve what you're doing.
Yeah.
But on the same token, you want to do it constructively in a positive, growing sense, not as in a you suck kind of sense.
Yeah.
And so it's really difficult sometimes to navigate, negative comments. Like a couple of years ago, I can't even remember what the content. Oh, yes, I know it was. Jen
comes flooding back.
Oh, it came flooding back. Just now. Jen posted something about it was basically like a silhouette of a human body, and it was like different items that made up a realtor. And it was like coffee and, gas card and Starbucks and Target and whatever. Right. So it's like all these percentages that what a realtor is made of, and part of that was alcohol. Right. And this particular realtor that commented was very, very offended by it. Oh. And so we quickly took it down because that wasn't our intention. It was part of our Funny Friday posts.
Yeah.
And it didn't go off very well. Yep. And so it still sits with Jen where she's just kind of like, oh, I don't want it to turn into one of those kinds of things, you know? And so it's hard sometimes to take that feedback and put it into a positive sense and learn, you know, or just maybe write it out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you regret taking the post down or you think
I
that
do.
was? Yeah.
I do. Because the person who said that doesn't really work with us.
Yeah. And you can't please everybody.
And even if they did work with us, like we're human beings. And if I find it funny, we found it funny, you know, and does that merit, you know, a takedown? I don't know. Like if it was like maybe, if it was sexist or racist or offensive, then of course, like it shouldn't have even been put up to begin with. Right. But it wasn't like calling out anybody in particular other than realtors are made of these things. But honestly, on that list was blood and sweat and toil. Like, you know, there was all the, like the hard work items, but also and this is how we unwind items, you know?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, there was just some connotations there. So,
So,
you know, I know that doesn't really hold a candle to some of the hate that you've probably
but I mean, it
seen,
is very similar. Mark, you know, Mark Kavanaugh.
I do. I love Mark.
What I do too. Everything he says, I think is
more people need to be Mark.
Seriously. And he's just wonderful. But when I didn't even have my license.
Okay.
I went to they basically had an open house where they were going to give you an idea of what you could expect if you wanted to be a real estate agent. Yep. And he said, if you're not upsetting some people, you're not doing enough business.
Oof.
And I still will repeat that back to myself. Like if someone's upset, because it's true, you cannot please everybody. And if you're not upsetting a couple people, then you're not doing enough business.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I could say that to you. Some people are going to be upset. You guys are doing a good job, obviously. And you had no ill intention, you know. No. That's not to say.
It's not like we were isolating or targeting a realtor.
Exactly.
You know, like if we started like, oh boy. Yeah. Oh man, it would be so easy. Like what we know of realtors, there would be, but we're not malicious people, you know.
The list is endless.
The list is endless, you know. And I've heard so many transactions and how they fell apart and why they fell apart, and you know we connect dots, you know. And the truth of the matter is, we do have our clients' best interests at heart, and you know we try to at all times, just like you guys do, operate in their best interest, you know. And every once in a while, there's something that strikes us funny, and this is how we go.
Yeah.
You know?
And you had no ill intention with that post. No. But there are a few things Mark has said over the years that I will keep with me forever.
Is there another thing that you can share? Because I'd love to.
Oh gosh.
I need to get Mark on this podcast too, I think.
You should. He should be one of your next guests, because just everything he says, it makes sense. It's accurate. I have a lot of respect for Mark.
Nothing ruffles his feathers.
Nothing. He has an answer for everything. He should run maybe for some kind of an election.
Oh, I don't know. See, I feel like this, you know, Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I love Mike Rowe. And he's part of the Ramsey Network now and stuff like that. And long and short of it is, you know, there's like this ever-present thing that Mike Rowe should run for president, right? And he's said specific multiple times, no, I'm absolutely never going to do that because A, I respect myself too much, and B, just because I can take common sense and apply it to blue-collar jobs and the economy doesn't mean that I can navigate all the pitfalls of politics, because there's a lot.
It's a great point.
You know, and so while it, you know, I think in theory, Mark Kavanaugh for
he can just be our president
like that, right?
of our lives.
Exactly, right? You know, we all need a Mark in our lives.
Yeah, he's great.
And I think that does he coach?
I don't know if he coaches like on. I know he's very much involved. Or when he was running Keller, like his office, he was very involved in the training and stuff like that. But I don't know if he specifically has like his own clients.
Mark, if you're watching, consider coaching.
He's gonna watch this and be like, "Wow, there was a whole segment. They talked about me. This whole segment.
Right.
We said only nice things.
Yes, we only said nice things, and don't cut that out. That one out. But no, Mark's always had my respect. And when Jen and I moved to this area, he invited me into the office, and we just sat down and just had a chat. And it wasn't even Mark, I want to get your office's business. It was more like, Mark, how do I attract agents, you know? And he's just like, Jeremy, you know, like he looked at the pictures and he looked at the pricing. He goes, let's talk. And so he and I just had a heart to heart conversation, and he's like, you'll do fine. Don't worry about it. You know? And I'm like, that's it. That's all you got for me. Like, you can't like hook me up. And he goes, well, he goes, you know, this is so-and-so, that's so-and-so and stuff. And so, you know, he made some contacts, but other than that, like, you know, the business grew just because of, I guess, being me, you know, and
100%.
You know,
the quality you put out.
So,
but 100%.
But tell me a little bit about home life.
It's very chaotic right now.
How old are your kids?
My oldest is 3. My youngest is 1.5 years. So my house it's chaos. And the past few months have been very hard to navigate. Both of them are potty training. My oldest is wild. Everyone says it's just a typical boy. So
I have only girls, so I can't relate.
Yeah. Yeah. My daughter is an angel. My youngest is a girl, and she is.
Oh, just wait. Yeah.
I have heard that too. But I mean, I literally turned my back for 2 seconds the other day, and he was up on the counter with a sharp knife in his hand. It's like that stuff.
It never happened. And that never happened with our kids.
Yeah.
That never happened with our kids at all.
Yeah. It's challenging. These years are hard. I know I'm going to miss them, but at the same time, I'm like, please, like, get me through this.
Next chapter, please.
Yes. Yeah. It's very difficult, like, to navigate, but it's this struggle of, I want this time to be over, but I know I'm going to miss it so much in the future. So I'm trying to hold on to it, but parts of it are very miserable. Mm-hmm. And then you add in, you know, work is always chaotic. So it's like the mixture of it all it's a lot. I do feel like I need a bit of a vacation.
I get it.
But we can't go on vacation.
No.
Unless we plan like way in advance.
What did you do before real estate?
I was a preschool teacher. Yeah, I was a teacher at a really sweet elementary school in New Salem.
Okay.
And
you stopped because?
My position was eliminated.
Oh,
so
okay.
I knew when I was hired that I would only be there for 2 years because that's the amount of kids they had to support 2 teachers. So it was known. I was really hopeful the numbers would change in the kids. We'd get more kids coming into the district, and they would still need 2 teachers for our grade. But that wasn't the case. So I literally was at a crossroad. Okay. I was left with, do I want to stay in this position where financially was a struggle? Mm-hmm. I really was living paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. And I was not happy. Like, I was miserable. Okay. But this other side, I was very interested in real estate. We had just bought our house, and I kind of had this opportunity where I could completely shift. And that's what I did. I had presented the idea to my husband, thinking he would be like, no, you're crazy.
What's your husband's name again?
Dan. Yeah, Dan. So I had told Dan, I'm like, listen, I'm kind of interested in doing this. And he was like, you should do it. Like 100% supported me. Yeah. Good. My dad told me it was a huge mistake.
Oh, okay.
Huge mistake.
Come on, Dad.
Yeah. Look at the numbers
no,
now,
that's
Dad.
Okay. That's okay. No, but admittedly, you knew that it was a risky.
Yeah, it wasn't
move.
Guaranteed. I knew, I was leaving a salary job for commission based.
But your salary job was ending or ended.
It was, yeah, and I could have potentially applied to other districts.
Yep.
I had gone through that. I had applied to other schools. I had letters of recommendation. Like, I could have got
2015.
No, this was 2018.
2018. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not mathing right now.
Yeah,
never mind.
2018. It was 2018.
You had applied to other districts, you were saying.
I had, and it just didn't feel like the right fit. Everywhere I went, I just felt like I was just going to be as miserable as I was. I mean, I wasn't super, super miserable, but it was long. It was long hours. Mm-hmm. My pay never changed, even though I would put in more hours. And it was just very taxing. The first year I was a teacher, I didn't have kids at the time. So every day I had to come home and take a nap, and it was just a 20-minute nap, or I couldn't get through the rest of the night. I was just so exhausted. And I just felt, I felt like there was something else out there for me.
Yep.
Like it was this.
There's got to be more than this.
Yeah, it was this internal, like, I don't want to call it a calling, but it was this thing inside of me that I was like, there's something more for me than this.
Yep.
And that's kind of what led me here.
All right. There's your origin story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so the reason why I was asking that is because, when we go on vacation and we look at the workload and whether it be business work or home, like, daily life work, it follows us. Right.
Yeah.
But then we have to reflect on that.
Yeah.
The previous and be like, it's still worth it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's still worth it all day, every day.
Yep.
And it's not about the paycheck as much as it is about knowing in your heart that you're doing your work.
Yeah.
You're doing what you feel called to do.
100%.
And you can believe in it,
Yep.
right? At the end of the day, you can sit back, you can sit down and say, I may not have had the best day,
Yep.
but I did my best today.
Yeah. That's a good one.
You
yeah.
know, and that's okay.
Yep.
In life, if it is in fact about, a string of best days, then, well, if you're not upsetting somebody, you're not working hard enough, right?
You're not doing enough business.
You're not doing enough business.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing I think with kids, with family life, with investments, with business, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's those are all good takeaways. I like
Yeah.
that. So your kids are 3 and 1.5.
3 and 1.5. Yep.
And going on 13 and 11.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But Brady's my oldest. He'll be in preschool next year.
Okay.
Which will be, I think, a little bit easier. And then Bailey will follow the year after. And that will be a little bit nicer. It's also tricky because Dan and I have completely opposite work schedules.
What does he do?
He's a state trooper.
Okay.
So I go in the morning. I'm in the office at like 7:30 every morning. I'll get home at 2:15-ish. He leaves at 2:30 and he doesn't get home until after midnight.
Wow.
So we basically have our separate shifts.
Yep.
So when I'm home parenting them, I'm parenting them by myself.
All right.
The only time we get a chance to parent together is on the weekends
Okay.
and he's sacrificing as well. He's parenting by himself in the morning. So it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But it's a small chapter of our lives. And
You know that it's temporary.
yeah, it is.
It's a pinch.
Yeah.
But it's temporary.
Yeah. But
Yep.
it is hard.
Yes.
It is very
Yes.
difficult.
Yes. It is. It is. And it ebbs and flows. And
It does.
For a while it gets easy.
Yeah.
And then they become teenagers.
Yeah.
And then it gets hard again.
Yeah. Or when daylight savings comes.
Oh, geez, that's murder.
That
We got to stop that.
we I don't know what we need to do, but we need to do something. Like we need to
The bill is literally sitting on a desk in Congress. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It needs to be ushered along for sure. Because, honestly, I will take dark, dreary mornings and later days.
Yeah.
Like 4:30 or even 4:15 for crying out loud, sunset times.
Yeah.
And honestly, Keith knows it wreaks havoc on our business.
Yeah.
Because, we have to wrap
That's
up our
true,
last photo
especially
shoot.
this time of year.
We have to start our last photo shoot no later than 3:00.
Yeah.
Now it just so happens to coincide with a slowdown in the market, which
Yeah.
is always ever present every winter.
Yeah.
Which, if any buyers or sellers are hearing this, sell the house anyway.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
literally, it's not going to affect much at all.
No.
And it takes some creative marketing, of course, to get through some of the challenges. But
Yeah.
the fact that New England winter real estate slows as much as it does is just such a pain.
Yeah.
For everybody in the industry.
Have you seen it even out a little more
No.
since being low inventory? Like your winter. Has it been a little more even if you're looking at the course of the year because there's been low inventory, or you still are seeing?
Oddly, and maybe we can put this statistic up on the screen and I can send the screen grab. I love sharing statistics that we track. But we've been tracking our numbers since 2016.
Yep.
So we're 7.
Yeah, I know you guys, do that
years
pretty
in.
closely.
Really closely.
Yeah.
We've been tracking them ever since we invested in our CRM, our
Yep.
customer resource software. And the statistics show that even though since 2016, our sales have gone up like something like 500 or 600% since then. It's like literally just grown astronomically.
That's amazing.
And so even though we see an enormous volume increase from like April to October, interestingly enough, we have not seen any volume increase at all in December. It's been relatively the same each and every single year, even though all of our other statistics change.
Yeah.
Which is so dumb to even think about, because it just means that it's such a tinderbox and so such a dry market during November, December, January, that even though you might have this like flailing out of control, erratic market from March to October, you have a very stagnant, this is what you can come to expect. You can come to expect your 60 listings a month or something like that. Like, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's like 45 to 60 listings in 1 month. Whereas in May, we'll do 120 in 1 week. And so,
that's wild.
So the contrast between those two numbers, and this actually gets back into a little bit of business management stuff. The contrast between those two numbers is just so aggravating, because we have a labor force of 8 photographers that we need to keep, so that we're not having to train new employees come February, or have to explain to our own customers, sorry, that photographer that you've liked for so long, they're not working here anymore because we couldn't afford to keep them. Like, that's just obviously not how to run a business.
Right.
Actually, we can tangent real quick.
Yeah.
Because of the lawsuit that just happened.
Yeah.
And so that's going to have implications for buyer's agents throughout the United States.
That's a scary topic, like for everyone, I think.
Do you want to weigh in?
I will truthfully say I have followed it, but probably not as closely as you have. Because one, I just maybe don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss. But it's tough to think about that changing, because there's if you get rid of that, then how is a buyer going to have accurate representation? Like, there's so much.
Amen to that.
Yeah. I don't know if I could see them doing away with that portion of
transactions.
Yeah. Or because the thought of having a buyer, then, their down payment, their closing costs, paying for their realtor, then.
Oh my goodness.
Buyers wouldn't be able to afford it.
It would.
And they wouldn't get accurate representation. And that would cause a whole slew of issues that would be way worse.
If a bunch of buyers came off the market today, think of how inverted the market would get overnight.
Yeah.
And so that has a significant implication.
Yeah.
So I'm.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will see.
We'll see
how it goes. And that's all we can do.
That's all I can do.
We can see. I don't dive too deep into like the doom articles, because we just don't know.
No, I agree. I know that your business grew this year, and congratulations.
Thank you.
What's your biggest takeaway from this year, from observing others or from experiencing it yourself?
One of my biggest takeaways is everything's going to be all right. Because there are moments where we feel it slow down. It's going to even out. I think prior to this year, I really used to have a very hard time come the summer months that are slower. And then in the winter, when things were a little bit slower, I get in that mindset of like, oh no, like this is it. Yeah. No one's going to ever choose me again. So getting to the point where I think everything's going to be okay. Yeah. And I'm not going to hopefully won't have to get a second job someday. Yeah, right. Like I can just continue doing this.
Sure.
I guess one of my other takeaways is, I don't know, is really just to stay true to myself and not, if everyone else is doing something, maybe I'm going to do something different. And yeah, keeping my clients as the sole focus. Those are the biggest things. But just continuing to do what I know. That sounds kind of boring.
I disagree.
It's a tough one.
I don't think it sounds boring.
Yeah.
I think it might sound maybe vanilla to some people.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is you don't need the flair.
Yeah.
Because if you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that the best, most surviving companies, they change as needed so that they can remain competitive and modern.
Yep.
But if you overhaul something just because it's just gotten, it's just vanilla.
Yeah.
Then at that point, you're having to reinvent things. And when you reinvent something, that's when you put yourself at the biggest risk, because that reinvention might fail. And I'm not saying to not take the risk as a result, but like you have to calculate it. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing, you know? And so obviously, you know, with advances in social media and changes in algorithm on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever you guys are doing over there, it's hard to constantly adapt without just having to throw everything out and start over again on a daily basis, you know?
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway is I don't necessarily need to do what all of the coaches and everything they're putting out there. You need to cold call. You need to be doing this. You need to be following up with people at open houses. I don't. This year taught me I don't need to do those things to generate business.
Sure.
I can show up as myself. I can show people on social media exactly who I am, show like the humor side of it, like, and people will want to work with me because I've already established that trust. I think part of that, they've already, when people message me, I'm hoping they already feel like they know me if they don't.
They've already vetted you.
Yeah. And they know a little bit about who I am. They feel like they can trust me to a certain degree. So I don't necessarily need to be cold calling and doing all of these things that all these top producers tell you need to be doing to succeed.
You touched on something that I really want to grab.
Yeah.
And that is that people know you before they contact you.
Yeah.
And so we're going to ask a question specific to that.
Sure.
How do people know you before they contact you, Olivia?
I basically document my entire day on social media. Most days, anything I do, anything my kids are doing, like anything I find funny. I go to Walmart, anything. I do post it on social media. So I feel like people are, maybe if they're tuning in to my day, they kind of get a sense of who I am. I post a lot of funny stuff, so I hope they can see what I would consider funny. So I hope they could see like that side of my personality, but really not faking anything. Like I try not to put this fake persona out there. Like you're going to see my house is a mess. You're going to see my kids are crazy. Yep. You're going to see that my workload, sometimes it doesn't make perfect sense and I have transactions falling apart. But I'm going to try to fix them. That part of it, I hope, is more trustworthy for a customer than putting out this perfect image. I'm not going to promise you that we're going to get multiple offers on your house because we might not. We're not in a market where that is.
It's not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee. I'm not going to promise that we're going to have a super hit party at your open house because it's just in this market. It's not a guarantee.
Sure.
I'm going to set realistic expectations.
Okay. So what you're articulating is that you're living genuinely and you're carrying that persona through your family and your work life.
Yeah.
And what you're putting out on social media matches who you are on a daily basis. 100%. And you're not propping yourself up.
Yeah. There's no fakeness there. There's nothing for everything I do is genuine. And it is not to gain a client. Yep. Anything I put out there is totally genuine to who I am. Friendships, relationships, anything is comments on posts is 100% genuine and not an ulterior motive.
It's awesome.
So that this year has taught me that because this has been the first year as a whole. I feel like I've put that out there. Prior years, I really tried to have this like perfect mindset where it's like, you know, this house got multiple offers.
It's easy to fall into that trap.
It's so easy. Or like, look at this my perfect life. And like, that is not the reality at all.
It's one of the reasons why our behind the scenes posts actually do better than our regular posts.
Yeah.
because people want to see the genuine side of things
Yeah.
and the production elements and stuff like that. And it's funny because like I talked about our demographic before, and our demographic doesn't change on those behind the scenes posts.
Yep.
It's just that it distributes a lot easier because it's not a curated message.
Yeah.
It's just organic.
Yeah.
And I think if you live organically, and this is who I am, this is my life, and yeah, I had a crap day today.
Yeah.
But I also had some wins today too.
Yep.
Then when you're putting that out there, when people come to you, they'll have more than likely already seen that because they'll have, followed you for a number of months or whatever. And when they come to you, they're a more qualified lead because they know who you are.
Yeah.
And so they're more sticky as a result.
Yep.
You're not having to compete against a bunch of other agents because you're not being interviewed for your basics. You're being interviewed for your details.
Yeah.
And
that's a really good
right?
point.
And so that's the way that we approach it with Madore Photography, where the content that we put out is what people are going to expect to get. And that way we're not having to worry about having to hit expectations that are falsely set.
Yep.
Because I know that, like it's easy for us to just post the most beautiful homes that we photograph, but we have a very specific requirement for what homes we photograph. They need to be staged. They do need to be cleaned. They
Yep.
need to be professionally presented.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not a price point. It's not a location. It's
Right.
not a zip code. It's
Yep.
not a type of home or whatever. Is it clean? Is it staged? Is it ready for photography? And does it just present nicely? Those are really it. That's it.
Yep.
And so as a result, we show everything from, late 1600s, 1700s colonials,
Yeah.
like old farmhouses, especially like the Orange area and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
All the way to what I think our most expensive listing was like $8 million in Concord or something like that.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
That's amazing.
So we cover the gamut, right? And so as a result, when people look at our page, we're not putting people in boxes, right? And we're not putting ourselves in a box of we only photograph Concord real estate. Because we run the gamut, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And Keith and I have definitely moved a lot of things at houses before. We have definitely.
I'm asking if the photo's staged. I'm not asking if the house is staged. Yeah. So no, presentation is everything.
Yeah.
Presentation's everything.
Yeah, it is.
So it was a really awesome conversation with you today.
Thank you for having me. This has been a blast.
You're so welcome. We're honored to have people that we really respect and always look forward to seeing. And it's just such an add to our own business to be able to sit down with people and just talk shop a little bit and get out of the whole we're inside of a listing, got to get stuff done mindset.
It is so nice to have that because you're right. On a daily basis, our main focus is, okay, how are we going to make this house look good? And it's not really like catching up, talking about the market. So this has been really nice.
It's too transactional. We need to be more like us.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
But thanks.
Thank you.
All right.